Hi guys, welcome to the live video or the replay if you're watching later. My name is Alicia Cross and today I'm talking to you about yoga and specifically why yoga is not a workout. I know that we are busy and we're trying to cram a lot of things into our day and definitely trying to make time for our self-care and our yoga and our workout. So sometimes it's really tempting to mingle those things together. There's even studios that offer classes that are like boot camp yoga classes. It's yoga with burpees. And that is not the type of yoga that I offer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my philosophy and you'll understand, you'll have a better understanding of what my classes are and how they can benefit you, or just how to structure your own practice, your own personal yoga practice, so that you can get the benefits that you want to get from your whole health and wellness routine. Okay, so yoga is not a workout. And what we have to talk about first is the nervous system. That's what we need to understand. So the nervous system, it has two halves. So half of it is the voluntary and the other half is involuntary. So the nervous system controls everything. So right now, my voluntary nervous system is in effect as I talk to you and move my body. And then my involuntary nervous system that I don't have to think about is taking care of all the behind the scenes stuff. So my heart is beating, I don't have to think about it. I'm breathing, I don't have to think about it. My autonomic or involuntary nervous system is regulating my blood pressure, my pH level, the hormones that are being released in my system. That's all happening involuntarily. And it's a good thing too. We don't want to have to focus on breathing all day long. But the cool thing about breathing is that it is the only thing that is both voluntary and involuntary. So it happens all day long without thinking about it. And in our yoga practice, we tap into it voluntarily to make those changes to the autonomic or the involuntary nervous system. All right, so we have those two halves. So why is that important? So when we work out, when we exercise, whatever we're doing, if we're strength training or doing cardio, taking a class, going for a run, biking, going to boot camp, whatever we are doing, our body has shifted into the, oh, I gotta back up the bus. So in the involuntary half of the nervous system, that's further divided into two halves. So fight or flight or rest and restore. So fight or flight is your sympathetic nervous system and your rest and restore is your parasympathetic. And you'll hear me talk about parasympathetic a ton in yoga. And this is why. So going back to exercise. So when you're working out, that involuntary nervous system shifts you into fight or flight, into sympathetic. So your sympathetic nervous system, this is associated with hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And while those do tend to get a bad rep, they are not bad. You need them. If you didn't have cortisol, you wouldn't get up in the morning. You wouldn't be able to meet life's challenges or learn new things. You wouldn't be able to respond to situations where you needed to act, or you needed to maybe avoid danger or protect yourself or someone else. But even just for the daily cycles of the day, your cortisol is highest in the morning to wake you up, to get you out of bed. If you have low cortisol or some of those lower stress hormones, then you have a different issue. You have like adrenal fatigue. I've heard that fibromyalgia is associated with low cortisol. So we don't want these things to go away. They're not bad. Those things are all increasing when we're working out. And you know this because you're breathing faster, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up when you're working out, and we want that. We want all of those things to happen. And it's important to remember that exercise is therapeutic stress on the body. So when you're working out and you're putting yourself in fight or flight, the after effect, the response from that is that everything goes down. So your resting heart rate goes down, your blood pressure goes down. All those things are lowered because you've put yourself through that training and increase them through your workouts. The problem with stress is if we are in a state of chronic stress. So if we are always in fight or flight, and that could be because of many factors, but a lot of it is that we respond to things in our environment as if they are life-threatening. So you can think of any situation when you're driving, you're at work, a conversation with somebody, a conflict. All of these things are going to trigger that fight or flight response, but then there's no relief from that. So there's no, that doesn't kind of reach a point where we're able to burn it off and recover from it. We just have this chronic level of stress and tension. And then we go to the gym and we work out and we have more stress and tension. So that becomes the problem, is this chronic stress all the time, elevated cortisol and adrenaline and all these stress hormones. Okay, so then this is where we talk about yoga and what yoga is and how it can help us. So yoga is not a workout, and the big reason why it's not a workout is because we are not in sympathetic nervous system. We are not in fight or flight when we are practicing yoga. In yoga, we are strengthening the other half of the nervous system, the parasympathetic, nicknamed rest and digest or rest and restore. And how do we know we're in parasympathetic? Well, one of the big ways is the breath. So when we're practicing yoga, the breath is in and out through the nose, slowly and deeply, hi Melissa, into the belly. So remember, the breath is two. It's both. It's both voluntary and involuntary. So if your breath gets away from you and now you're breathing through the mouth, or you're huffing and puffing, or you're holding your breath, or you're grunting, that is a signal that you have shifted out of rest and restore, and now you've moved into fight or flight. But since the breath is also voluntary, we can control that. We can switch the breathing back to in and out through the nose, slowly and deeply down into the belly. If we are doing a practice where we can't keep that yoga breath, that's our sign that we need to back off. So I wrote about this in a post called The Pose That's Right for You. And the 3 ways that you know the pose is right for you is you can maintain your yoga breath, your balance, you're not falling over on people, and your drishti, your eye gaze. You're not looking around the room, you're not looking at what other people are doing, you're not getting distracted, you're able to maintain your focus. So if we can maintain those 3 things, the drishti, the balance, and especially the breath, then we are in the pose that's right for us, and we are practicing yoga in our parasympathetic nervous system, which is where we need to be. Yoga is the complement for all of the stressors of life, and that means work, just the normal things in your day that might be stressful, paying bills, having conversations, conflicts with people, traffic, and also your workouts. So if you're having all of these stressful situations going on all day long, and remember, stress isn't always bad. You know, making this video here for you right now, my stress hormones are a little bit higher because I'm excited to be talking to you. But if you have all of these stressful situations and then you go to yoga and you're doing burpees, or you're doing this hot, vigorous practice where you're huffing and puffing and holding your breath and grunting, that's just one more stressful thing you've dumped on your nervous system and said, here, deal with this. And we know that a lot of diseases are affected by chronic stress. We know that our immune system is compromised by chronic stress. I've been talking a lot about sleep this month, and a lot of you have been telling me, well, I can fall asleep, but I can't stay asleep. Or I wake up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, that's your stress hormones. They're not regulated, they are not managed, and your body is kicking you into go time at the wrong time. So managing your stress throughout the day with practices like yoga and meditation are going to help you to sleep at night. They're going to help you to recover from your workouts. They're going to help you to strengthen your immune system. But all that needs to be done with yoga in that relaxed state. So really good practices for that are going to be restorative yoga, which is a fully supported practice, which means we're using bolsters, blankets, blocks, all of the props, so that we're just kind of floating there in like a cloud, just effortlessly. There's no work, there's no stretch, we're just relaxing into the pose. And that allows us to absorb the benefits of the practice without any effort or exertion from our body, from our nervous system. So this practice, restorative yoga, BKS Iyengar created this because he saw that his students were they were stressed out and they needed to be able to get into the shape of the pose to get the benefits without having any effort. So this restorative practice, it may not be something that you need all the time. And that's why I offer it once a month. So the last Sunday of the month at the Metta Center in Burke, I offer a 90-minute restorative yoga, and that ends with a 20-minute nidra, guided meditation. Now, if you do have a lot of stress in your life and you are really working on just correcting that and creating balance, you might need a more regular restorative practice. And it is a very easy practice to do on your own because the poses are held for such a long time, 5, 7, 10, maybe even 20 minutes. You just get a bolster. There's not very many restorative yoga poses. You can find resources online or books, and you just hang out in those poses. You set your timer and you stay there. Maybe it's one pose at night before you go to bed. That's really a great time to practice restorative yoga. Maybe not necessarily when you're getting up in the morning and getting started with your day, because as we said, cortisol is higher in the morning to get us going. We don't want to counter that. We want to embrace that natural cycle. Another practice that's really good for activating the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and restore, is a practice called yin. And yin yoga is a very gentle, stretchy yoga. It's not as relaxing as restorative. So yin yoga, we are trying to feel a stretch, and we would remain in the poses for about 5 minutes. And this is a similar style that I teach on Tuesday nights. It's called stretch and de-stress. So it's very long held stretches. And so there's a little bit more variety. And we are still using props, but our goal is to feel a little bit of a stretch. But again, still maintaining our yoga breath. If we slip into a stretch where we are holding our breath, or now we're grunting or breathing out through the mouth, we back off to that last place where we were successful. Now, this doesn't mean that only restorative and yoga are good for the parasympathetic nervous system. We can practice other styles of yoga. I also have a chair yoga class on Thursdays. That is mostly senior-based because we are in the chair, and that has a big focus on relaxing and breathing. So, of course, if you are working on calming down your nervous system, this would be a good practice for you because the focus is not getting into deep poses. It's a very meditative practice, very breath-based, very awareness-based. Also, flow classes. So my flow class is Sunday, slow flow at noon. And this class is going to be a very varied level class. And wherever we are at in the practice, we just make sure that we're maintaining our yoga breath. So for someone who is maybe newer to the practice, they're going to choose the options. You're going to pick, if you're newer to the practice, you're going to pick options that are, child's pose and kneeling plank and a gentle cobra, because those poses are going to allow you to keep your yoga breath, keep your drishti, to stay present in the practice. Now, someone who has a stronger practice, or if you've been practicing for a longer time, maybe you have more flexibility, maybe you have more strength, you're going to be able to maintain that same yoga breath, that same focus, going through down dogs, chaturangas, and upward facing dog. So it's not about what the pose is. It's not that one pose is necessarily easier or harder than another. It's just where you can stay with your yoga breath, where you can maintain your breath in and out through the nose, so you can stay in your parasympathetic nervous system. And that could be different for everybody. Sometimes just getting down onto the floor, getting down onto the belly, you might start huffing and puffing for some reason. And our yoga practice is bringing us some awareness to that so that we can switch that. We can notice that. And of course, I remind you all of the time in class about breathing in and out through the nose. And then what happens is we're getting that benefit in that moment from that healing practice of being in our parasympathetic nervous system. Hi, Paulina. So you're able to kind of give your mind and your body a break from the stress of life. And then we take those skills with us off of the mat. So once we've conditioned our body and our mind what it feels like to be relaxed, to breathe deeply, to breathe slowly, when we are stuck in traffic or we're having an argument with our partner, or our boss is being really demanding and our shoulders start creeping up to our ears and we notice our breath starting to get rapid, we're going to be alert to that and be able to relax the body, to slow down the breath so that we're not pushing ourselves into that stressful situation. Because remember, stress is two things. It's the external things that are happening to you, but it's also your response. the external things are happening to you, we may or may not be able to change those situations. The only thing we have control of all the time is what's going on internally, our response. And this is what yoga can do for us, to give us that ability to not shift over into that extreme stress response. And that's going to have a benefit not only to your long-term health and well-being, but imagine being able to respond intelligently and calmly in a sticky situation rather than reacting from that place of stress and tension. That may really have some effects on your relationships, your career. You can imagine just the ramifications of always coming from this high stress place with all of your interactions. And everything else that goes along with reducing your stress. If you are carrying excess weight, if you can't sleep at night, if you just feel like life is happening to you and you're just stuck and you have no control over everything, you can't see the possibilities, you can't see your way out of whatever situation you're in, strengthening your parasympathetic nervous system is what is going to change your outlook on life, change your mindset, open you up to see the possibilities and the options for making improvements. It's going to improve your health. It's going to improve your immunity. The excess weight is going to fall off. Maybe you're not going to stress eat. You're going to sleep better at night. So you get all the immediate benefits of that and also the long-term benefits. Proper sleep is how we help to ward off dementia in our older age. So all of these things, as I always say, are all connected. But if we jump back to these yoga classes that are hot power and there's burpees, it's not giving you any of those things. It's not. It's just one more stressful thing that you're throwing on your nervous system to deal with. And I love burpees. I'm not dogging burpees, but that's a separate thing. Your workout, that needs to happen. You need to work out. You need to work on all of the components of fitness, including your strength, your endurance. But then yoga, that's a separate thing. So yes, go work out, go do the boot camp, go do the burpees, and then make time for your yoga practice that is completely separate from that. And that's not to say that we can't work on strength and stability in our yoga practice. We are doing that. We're just doing it at the level that's right for us, that we can keep breathing in and out through the nose. And how much? So how much yoga do we need? So the amount of yoga that I like to recommend is 2 times per week. And I recommend this as a minimum based on a couple of factors. One, there was a study that studied the effects of yoga on depression, patients who had depression, and they saw that 2 yoga practice a week was good to help alleviate their symptoms. So not saying that everybody comes to yoga with depression, but we are coming in with some kind of stress that we want to alleviate, or we have some kind of stress in our life. So if it's helpful for alleviating depression, it can be helpful for whatever we are dealing with. And then 2, just from my own experience, doing yoga once a week, nice. Doing it twice a week, we'll definitely see some more results, some more benefits. Of course, if we are practicing yoga more than 2 times a week, it's just making sure that we also have the time to devote to the other aspects of fitness. So if we're practicing yoga 3, 4, 5 times a week, but then we're also not working out, not developing our strength, not working on our cardiorespiratory endurance, then we have to make time for all of those things. And yoga does not have to be a 1-hour practice in a class. So yoga is many things. One of the 8 limbs is asana, poses. It does not have to be an hour. So it is really helpful to be in a class, to have that interaction with your fellow yogis, the other people in the class. And also it's a good learning experience. You'll learn from the instructor, whatever it is that they are bringing to you that day. I know in my classes there is a theme. So in, for example, my Saturday noon slow flow, I based the practice on all of my students' word of the year. So that took us kind of through February. I did a practice for everybody's word, whether it was confidence or self-care or vigilance. I made a practice based on those words. And then we've been working on some body parts lately. So feet, shoulders, those have been our themes for the practice. And in those I bring in not only the physical practice, the asanas, the poses, there's essential oils, there's mantras, there's readings, there's mudras, there's breath work for the practice. So that is definitely a way, if you're in a class, that you can learn more about the other 8 limbs of the yoga practice. And it's very inspiring. If there's days you don't feel like getting onto the mat, being in a class, being in a practice where you're just guided and you don't have to plan what you're doing, you don't have to think about it, but then it is good to have that time on your own, on your mat. So maybe you can work on the things that you need to work on. Maybe there's a pose that you're perfecting, or you are working on practicing your breath in some different flows, and you can really take that time to have that dedicated practice to improve what it is that you're working on, or just that consistent ritual of getting on your mat, however often that is. And that might just be a couple of minutes in the morning. It might be part of your morning ritual to move your body, to have a breath practice, a pranayama practice. So basically it's finding what works for you. We're all trying to balance. We're all doing the best that we can to fit all these things in. But I would recommend 2 yoga practices, some combination of on your own and in a class. So I think that's all I have for you today. So if you have any questions about the nervous system, about yoga, or about my classes, just send me a message or post a comment and I'll respond. I'll post a link to sign up for my classes. So again, I have Tuesday night, 5:30 stretch and de-stretch. So this is a very yin practice, just relaxing and stretching. I have Thursday, 12 o'clock chair yoga. So this is geared towards seniors, but again, if your goal is relaxation, you will absolutely get that in this practice. And then Saturday noon, slow flow. This is where we really dive deep into the theme, and levels are offered for everyone. And then once a month, last Sunday of the month, I offer restorative. So this is the super luxurious, relaxing, 90-minute practice that includes a 20-minute nidra or guided meditation at the end. So I would love to see you at the Metta Center in Burke so I can help you alleviate your stress and bring more health, healing, and happiness into your life. So I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. Bye.